Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Sydney Cricket Ground for this afternoon's City Cup final clash between Glebe and North Sydney. And what a spectacular day it is. The SCG is bathed in sunshine for this one. A brilliant September afternoon in Sydney. There's a good crowd on hand for this final rugby league fixture of the 1913 season. Don't forget 50% of the proceeds from today's gate will go towards the league's ambulance fund, while the other 50% will go to 5 of the pioneers of the Northern Union game here in Sydney, in Peter Moyer, Ed Fry, Jim Abercrombie, Rob Mabel and Harry Hamill. The Dirty Reds advanced to the final off the back of successive one-point wins over Newtown and Annandale, while the Shoremen, for their part, they reached the final after registering impressive wins over Eastern Suburbs and South Sydney. Glebe and Norths finished 4th and 5th respectively in the Premiership, but North's performances in the City Cup qualifying matches make them slight favourites here this afternoon, although it's worth remembering Glebe has finals experience in the City Cup, losing last year's decider to South Sydney by 30 points to 5. There are two crucial inclusions for the Dirty Reds, with centre Tom Lego and forward Burke Gray returning, while Norths are bolstered by the inclusion of halfback Selby McFarlane. These two sides have met twice already this year, with the Glebites winning both matches, a 19-15 victory at North Sydney Oval in round 1 and a 35-17 win at Wentworth Park in July. That was the match, of course, in which Frank Burge was sent off for striking Bears prop Jack Baker and subsequently was suspended for the rest of the season. And no doubt the Dirty Red supporters would love to have the man known as Chunky in their side today. All right, let's run through the lineups for today's game. Firstly, for the Reds, it's Doug McGregor in jersey number 1. The wingers are Roy Norman and Mick Scannell. The centres are Tom Lego and Jack Darb Hickey. The 5'8" is Fritz Fearing, and the number 7 and captain is the one and only Chris McKivat. The forward pack reads Dan Kelly at number 8, Albert Gray and Sam Griffiths in the second row, and the two Jacks, Jack Redmond and Jack Knight, the prop forwards, with Jim Davis, the hooker, in jersey number 12. For North Sydney, it's Ted Taplin at fullback. Thomas and Miller are the wingers. Albert Bruman is the number 3 centre and captain, with his partner in the centres, Owie Sherritt. His brother Charlie Sherritt is the 5'8", with Selby McFarlane in jersey number 7. The forward pack reads in the back row, Wilkinson, Lloyd and Franks. In the front row, George Green, Reg Gosper, the hooker, and Jack Baker. The referee for this afternoon's match is Tom McMahon. So North Sydney, with first use of the football here, were underway in the 1913 City Cup final. The kick-off's fielded by Selby McFarlane for the Shoremen. He passes it to George Green, who takes the first hit up of the game, launching himself into a brick wall of Dirty Reds defence. Redmond takes him to the ground around the legs, with Davis assisting over the top. Gosper's an acting half now. He passes to Stan Lloyd, who doesn't get too far before he's met by Burke Gray, who cuts him down in a grassing tackle. A quick play the ball. Gosper passes it to Jack Baker, who shifts it wide to Owen Sherritt, who's tackled by Tom Lego. Sherritt making just his 5th appearance for North Sydney this afternoon. He plays it now to his brother Charlie, who gives it to Selby McFarlane, who punts it downfield into the hands of Roy Norman, the former Annandale man, who races back upfield before being brought to ground 10 metres short of the halfway line. Now it's with Lego out of acting half. He's taken the ground by his opposite number Sherritt, with help from Franks. Davis is at dummy half. He delivers the ball to Redmond, who takes the tackle 5 metres inside North Sydney territory. Now it's with Fearing, who kicks the ball back in behind the North Sydney fullback, and Ted Taplin brings it back to the 25 before going to ground himself, courtesy of a Jack Hickey tackle. 2 minutes gone in the final, and it's 0-0 Glebe and North Sydney. So North Sydney with the benefit of a slight breeze in this first half. They are starting to build some pressure. Some clever footwork there from Wilkinson has put the Shoremen in good field position. So far, the Glebe defensive line has held, but you do get the impression they may not be able to hold on for much longer. Here's Baker with another hit up, again making valuable metres. Now it's with Charlie Sherritt, who runs behind his own player and gives the penalty to Glebe, a relieving one. And you do get the impression that if not for the whistle there of referee Tom McMahon, that Norths may well have posted first points of the day in that passage of play. So now it's Chris McKivat's men who get a chance to pepper the Northerners line. They swing the ball wide through Fritz Fearing, out onto Lego, who turns it inside for Doug McGregor. He's brought down in a ball-and-all tackle by the former Australian international Albert Bruman. He plays it now. Davis is the dummy half. He passes the ball to Jack Knight, who carts it up, attempts to step at the line, but is taken to ground by George Green. Now it's McKivat out of acting half. Here goes McKivat. He may go all the way. Here he burrows towards the line, but he's pulled up just short. And a desperate tackle from Kaplan. So a lucky escape there for North Sydney. A wonderful cover defensive tackle has stopped what seemed a certain try there by McKivat, the dual international, and so far the only man, of course, to captain both the Kangaroos and the Wallabies. And how this Glebe club has grown since he switched codes back in 1910. So a lively start here by both sides, and it's North Sydney who are on the attack once again. Here's McFarlane now. He shapes to pass, but he's gone straight through. He's up over the halfway line. He's up over the 40. He offloads to Charlie Sherrod, who quickly passes to Owen Sherrod, who's eventually brought down by Hickey on the 25-metre line. Stan Lloyd continues to charge out of acting half, but he's wrapped up by Jack Redman with help from Sam Griffiths. A quick play to ball now. Here's Reg Gosper with an inside ball to Jack Baker, who's absolutely poleaxed there by Burt Gray. And what a hit that was from Gray. Brought that passage of play to a grinding halt. Now the ball's with McFarlane again. He shapes the kick for his winger, Joe Miller. Miller leaps high for the ball, but the referee has called him offside. And the Glebe supporters here at the SCG can breathe yet another collective sigh of relief. The score remains 0-0 after 20 minutes of play in what has turned out to be a very entertaining cup final so far. So the Reds are back on the offensive now through McKivat. He offloads to Thiering, who feigns to pass before straightening and breaking the tackle of Wilkinson. He's now dragged to ground by Franks in tandem with George Green. And what an impact Thiering has had in the early stages of this game. The coal lumper from Milson's Point, a product of the famous Grosvenor club in that suburb. He plays the ball now. Davis passes to Dan Kelly, who charges at the defence. He's eventually brought to ground by Gosper around the legs and Green up top. Now it's McKivat, who darts out of dummy half and offloads to Gray, who's through the gap and sailing towards the line, looking for the opening try at this point, but he's brought to ground in a try-saving tackle by Taplin, his second in only the last 5 minutes or so. Terrific tackle by Taplin, but McKivat again at acting half. He feigns to the open side, but instead goes to the short side. He fires the pass to Thiering, who offloads quickly to Hickey. Hickey charges at the line. He draws the defender in Thomas and offloads to Mick Scannell, who'll cross in the corner for the Reds. What an amazing passage of play that was from the Glebe side. They lead North Sydney by 3 points to 0 with the kick to cup. And at the centre of it all has been that man, Chris McKivat. He really does have this game by the scruff of the neck. He set the play up after repeated incursions into the North Sydney quarter. The credit must also go to Jack Hickey, who did exceptionally well there to draw 2 defenders before offloading to Mick Scannell, who showed a clean pair of heels in getting himself over the line for the first 3-pointer of the match. Only his second appearance for Glebe, Mick Scannell, up until this year's City Cup competition. He was a star player for the Grosvenor club at Millers Point that we mentioned earlier. It is something of a love-hate relationship, of course, between these two clubs, Glebe and Grosvenor. They are affiliated at first grade level, but they remain the fiercest of rivals in the second grade competition where both sides compete. Don't forget, in the match that they played back in early July, there was an all-in brawl in which 3 Glebe players were given their marching orders and hit with very long suspensions. Now, Tom Lego lines up the conversion attempt. It is a difficult angle to be sure, and given the Reds' poor kicking throughout the regular season, you wouldn't get your hopes up on this occasion if you were a Dirty Reds supporter. He moves in, he strikes it well enough, but it's waved away by the touch judges, and so the score remains Glebe 3, North Sydney 0. In the earlier match this afternoon, the Sports Ground Cup for second grade sides, it was a win for Balmain by 13 points to 0 over the Glebe Dirty Reds. Now, North Sydney with the ball now. They've dominated play in the last 10 minutes or so. It's probably fair to say their forwards have been edging their opponents throughout the first half. They're really starting to get a roll on now for their backs. Now here's Thomas now down the sideline. He's away. He turns it inside to Wilkinson. Wilkinson! No! He's just pulled down in a desperate tackle from Doug McGregor, who has once again come to Glebe's rescue, and he's coughed the ball up there as Wilkinson in the tackle. Another opportunity goes begging for North Sydney. So it's now Glebe in possession to metre out from their own line. Here's Hickey out of acting half. He's in tackled 12 metres out from his own line. Now with Burt Gray at acting half. He offloads to Scannell, who's fumbled the ball. It's picked up by Franks. He's looking to link up with Joe Miller down the left flank, and it's Joe Miller who finally put North Sydney on the scoreboard. He scored in the corner and levels it at 3 points apiece with a kick to come. Well, it was a long time coming. The Shoremen have had plenty of opportunities, and if not for some desperate defence from Glebe, they'd been in front already. You'd fancy the challenge for Glebe between now and the end of the first half is to try and wrestle their way back into this match. And here's Miller attempting to convert his own try and put Norths in front for the first time in the match. He moves in, he strikes it nicely, and from the sideline, Joe Miller has put his side in front, by 5 points to 3. Some enterprising play from both sides here. It's the Reds in possession again. That's Sam Griffiths with the ball. He bounces off the tackle from George Green, but there's a penalty. Referee Tom McMahon says the North's defenders were all offside, and now Tom Lego will get the chance to level up the scores. A penalty to Glebe in an eminently kickable position. Here's Lego now. This is to level the scores. He hits it well, and so just minutes out from half-time, it's 5-5 between Glebe and North Sydney. So the Shoremen now with most likely the final chance to post points before half-time. They're 25 metres out from the Glebe line. It's Miller with the ball on the left flank. He launches himself into the defence. He gets one arm free and fires a long pass over the heads of several players. It falls into the hands of Albert Bruman. He fends away from one. He's away from two. He races for the line, and the Shoremen are in again. Albert Bruman, off the back of what can only be described as a speculative pass, and single-handedly made his way to the line to score in the corner and give North Sydney a 3-point lead, with the kick to come right on the stroke of half-time. They will go into the sheds in front. The only question is, will it be a 3-point lead or a 5-point lead? Miller slotted one from the left-hand touchline earlier. Can he do it again from the opposite side of the field? We'll find out. Here he comes, he moves in, but he struck this one poorly and it's waved away. So after a highly entertaining first 40 minutes of play, it's North Sydney 8, leading Glebe 5 in the final of the 1913 City Cup. We'll take a break now and be back for all the action of the second half. It's the 1913 City Cup final, proudly brought to you by Wade's Cornflour and Dewar's Whiskey. Well, welcome back to the SCG, where North Sydney leads Glebe by 8 points to 5 at half-time. In the City Cup final, the Bears have scored 2 tries through Joe Miller and Albert Bruman. Miller has kicked 1 from 2, while the Glebe points came courtesy of a try to Mick Scannell and a penalty goal to Tom Lego, who was unsuccessful with his other conversion attempt. So North Sydney on top in a highly entertaining final. Glebe will get first use of the football in the second half. The kickoff is fielded by McKivat, who offloads to Redmond. Takes it as far as the 25 before he's brought to ground. Davis passes from dummy half to Knight, who passes before the line to Griffiths, but he's going nowhere, and he's brought to ground by Franks and Green. 18 metres short of the halfway line. Now confirming today's crowd as 17,000 for a gate of £890, so around £80 a man for the 5 pioneers of rugby league who have been honoured here today. Glebe now with the ball, 15 metres inside North Sydney territory. There's Gray with another strong run. He's been a huge addition for Glebe today. He plays at 30 metres out. Davis passes to McKivat, who hands it to Thiering, who puts Lego through a hole. Lego beats the tackle of Gosper before being brought down by Franks. Now it's Redmond, who crashes into the North Sydney defence. He's wrapped up 15 metres away from the line. Davis onto McKivat, who puts it on the toe. It's picked up by Charlie Sherritt, who manages to make his way out of his in-goal area, but is tackled just a few yards out from his own line. Now it's Gosper making a darting run out of dummy half, but he only makes another yard or so before Gray wraps him up. Now it's with McFarlane, who gives it to Baker, but he gets the ball flat-footed and is easily collected by Redmond and Dan Kelly. North Sydney really struggling here to work it out of their own territory. Bruman decides he's had enough, attempts a clearing kick. He hoofs it towards the sideline, but it's only made it as far as the 25. Taplin tries to shepherd it over the sideline, but here comes Roy Norman. He gets a hand to the ball. He taps it forward, recovers it like a thief in the night. Roy Norman has scored for Glebe. He crosses in the corner, but he puts it down underneath the post. Referee Tom McMahon points to the spot, and we're all tied up in the cup final. It's 8-8 with a kick to come for Glebe from right in front. So Thiering lines up the conversion attempt from right in front. This is to put the Reds in front again for the second time in the match. He moves in, he strikes it, he hits the post, but it falls over the crossbar and puts Glebe ahead by 10 points to 8. Almost a very embarrassing miss there for Thiering. Their goal kicking has been poor at stages throughout the year, but fortunately for them, on that occasion, the upright has come to their rescue. And as I say, Fritz Thiering, he won't care. The flags have gone up, and Glebe take the lead by 10 points to 8. So we're inside the final 20 minutes of the 1913 City Cup final. Glebe still hanging on to a slender 2-point lead. It's been all North Sydney in the last quarter of an hour. They've dominated possession and executed rush after rush upon the defence of the Glebe, but on each occasion the Dirty Reds defence has held out. Now, given the pace of North Sydney's offensive, that's been some feat. The Dirty Reds forwards have kept themselves in this one with some excellent scrummaging. They've been more conservative in attack since going ahead, that's for sure, but taking as many marks as possible and kicking for touch seems to be the order of the day. Just trying to slow this one right down, but here's an opportunity for them now. The Reds to feed the scrum, bang on halfway. McKivat comes away from the base of the scrum at about halfway. Beautiful pass to Thiering, who gives it to Lego. He passes to Hickey. Hickey on the Scannell. Scannell for the line, but he's brought down just short. In fact, it's a penalty for offside, so Glebe probably denied an excellent opportunity at another try there, perhaps a match-winning one at that, with the penalty blown out wide, but the score remains Glebe 10, North Sydney 8. North Sydney running out of time here. They've gone close to scoring on 3 or 4 occasions, but in each instance the Reds' defence has kept them out. Then, of course, Charlie Sherritt missed a challenging shot at penalty goal, so they've certainly had their chances, but still Glebe maintain their lead. The Shoremen push ahead with yet another attacking raid now. Here's Baker. He hits it up before being met in the tackle by Davis and Kelly, but it's a penalty for offside. This one is certainly kickable too. It's about 35 metres out and 15 metres to the left-hand side of the uprights. Miller calls for the sand bucket. If successful, will be all level at 10 points apiece here. He's 1 from 2 so far this afternoon. He kicked a stunning goal from the western touchline earlier, only to miss from the opposite side of the field just before half-time. Can he slot this one and even things up late on in this City Cup final? He moves in, he strikes it well enough, but he's hooked it slightly, and this one's waved away as well. So the score remains Glebe 10, North Sydney 8. So the clock is winding down here. North Sydney must score, or the Glebe will collect its first top-grade trophy in the 13-man game. They won plenty, of course, in the Metropolitan Rugby Union, but the closest they've come here has been the 1911 minor premiership win and successive runners-up finishes in the past 2 seasons. There's no doubt Chris McKivat is desperate to get his hands on the City Cup. He's barking orders at his players at present. You can hear him ordering his players to be steady in attack and mark the ball wherever possible. He's not letting this one get away. It's safe to say he's not the least bit interested in putting on a show here. With a 2-point advantage, he only wants to hold North Sydney out and has no doubt discarded the Reds' usual more popular style of play. For their part, North Sydney are refusing to give up the struggle. Here's Thomas powering into the defensive line. He almost breaks through, but is brought down by Hickey in a tough one-on-one tackle. Now Gosper gives it to Broomham, who's only 10 yards short of the line. He steps outside Sam Griffiths, but Fearing, who's been a defensive rock for the Rebs, wraps him up. Now George Green passes from acting half to Charlie Sherritt, who charges at the line, but McGregor has him, and he manages to keep him out. They shift it right now to Franks, who offloads to Owie Sherritt, but he's knocked it on, and that could well be the game for the Shoremen. They were looking promising, but once again, their handling has let them down. So we're inside the final couple of minutes now. Glebe with the ball inside North Sydney territory. Kelly plays it 10 metres inside North Sydney territory. Davis goes the short side, passes it to Hickey, who's in the clear. He's up over the 25. He's only got Thomas to beat. He passes it to Scannell. Could this be it? No! A desperate lunge again from Tapland has pushed him over the touchline, and this one is still not over. So this is it, North Sydney's final chance of the match. We're inside the final minute here. George Green carts it up for the Shoremen. He's on the 25-yard line when he's brought to ground by Burke Gray. He plays it to Gosper, who gives it to Miller, who goes straight through. Miller for the line. He shifts it wide to Sherritt on his outside, who's tackled into touch by Roy Norman, and that will be the ball game. With just seconds remaining on the clock, there won't be time for the restart, and the Glebe Dirty Reds will claim the 1913 City Cup trophy, their first major top-grade rugby league piece of silverware. Well done to the Dirty Reds. You'd have to say North Sydney had just bombed the match-winning try. That was not the play there from Joe Miller. He had Lego beaten all ends up, and if he went himself, he likely would have scored instead. He gave it to Sherritt, who was well marked by Norman and bundled into touch. So as the siren sounds in the background, the Glebe players show their jubilation for a club for whom success came so easily. In the 15-man game, they've struggled to assert their dominance in the league code. So often the bridesmaid, but never the bride. Well, this afternoon they've changed all of that, running out deserving winners by 10 points to 8. Full credit to North Sydney. They threw absolutely everything at them. But the Reds were equal to the task. Their forwards were far superior in the scrums, and that went a long way to deciding the outcome here this afternoon. The North pack, they were younger and faster, but the Reds forwards a little bit more cunning, and in the end just got the job done. An amazing defensive effort. Well, there were plenty of solid performances in the back line for Glebe. The centre pairing of Hickey and Lego in particular was outstanding. In fact, Hickey has rarely played better. Fearing was solid in defence at 5'8", as was Burge. But for mine, the two best performances from the Glebe side were from the fullback McGregor, who made a number of try-saving tackles. And after a below-par season for Glebe, he was at his absolute best this afternoon. But the star performer, the man of the match, was the living legend, the one they call the hairy bloke, Chris McKivat. He led his side around superbly. He created plenty of attacking opportunities, leading to both tries. But just as important was his captaincy. I mean, once they hit the lead in the second half, he adopted a defensive strategy which ultimately won Glebe the day. For the Shoremen, Shoremen was a standout, as was George Green. Ted Taplin saved for a horrendous defensive blunder which led to a Glebe try. He was excellent at the back. And the halfback in Selby McFarlane was first class, although his passing was a little slow. Jay Miller turned in an excellent wingers display. And so the curtain comes down on another rugby league season, the sixth in this country, and another solid one for the Rebel Code, you'd have to say. The crowds suggest league is clearly now the preferred code here in Sydney. The style of play is faster and more exciting, as we saw at the SCG here today. At full time, it was Glebe 10, North Sydney 8 in front of 17,000 people. The Glebe Dirty Reds are the 1913 City Cup champions. We'll see you next year.